Hey guys, how you doing? Eric at SoCal Cigars. I wanted to do the long-awaited update for this CigarMedics humidity tester. I did that review and unboxing a while ago, and I've gotten several comments asking, hey, what's the update on that thing? So today is the update on that thing. If you recall, when I first unboxed this and tried it, it seemed a little all over the place. I was concerned enough to what I ended up doing is I went back online and I purchased a combo of getting the case and this little tester, which is calibrated to 70 RH. So technically you're able to take this unit and test it on this tester and it should read exactly 70, so that at least what you're understanding is that this thing is not malfunctioning. Okay, so the first thing I would tell you is that if you are interested in getting this little humidity tester, get the 3-pack. Just get the combo. I ended up spending more money buying it individually than I would have if I just got the 3-pack or the combo of all 3 items. So I would just say go ahead and do that. So if you recall, all you do is you pop the lid and you've got these 2 probes. So let's go ahead and test this thing and see that this thing's working accurately, which means when I probe this tester, it should read exactly 70. And it does. If you can see that right there, it's exactly 70. Okay, so what that tells me at least is that this, let's just say, isn't malfunctioning. Whether it reads 100% accurate, that's another story, but let's see how it's going to do today. So here's what I did. I went upstairs to my humidor. It's at 78 degrees, 74% humidity. So a little high on both. I grabbed 2 cigars. And I'll tell you why. I grabbed one in cellophane and I grabbed one that was not in cellophane so that we could test each and see if there's a difference. I also took those cigars and immediately threw them into my humidor, or my little carry case herfador, from the humidor, and came downstairs. It's actually, so you know, in where I live in Southern California, it is 96 degrees out, so it's a little toasty. But again, I grabbed them, threw them in this case, came down here, and I'm recording right now. So it's only been maybe 10 minutes. So let's take a look. And if you remember last time, my readings were a little all over the place. So let's see if this works a little better today. And I don't know that thing, I don't know that this calibrates. I think it's just a tester, but who knows. But we'll see what we get today. So contestant number 1 is going to be a cigar that is not in cellophane. So let's probe this thing. And let's hit the on button and see what we're getting. Okay, this thing is saying 66%. I mean, it goes all over the place, but it started at 67, 66, 65, 64. So it's kind of landing on 64. Okay, and that's better than last time, because last time, if you recall, it seemed like it was just changing all over the place, and I got readings down into the 50s, 40s. I think one time I'd even read in the 30s. I don't know what was happening that day. I don't know why it seemed that off, but we'll talk about it in a minute. But I would say 64 is a good possibility that that's accurate. Okay, contestant number 2 is a Tobacco Especial Bitchin' cigar. If you notice, it is still in the cello. So let's go ahead and poke it right through there and test it. Same thing, 66, 65, 64. So this thing's landing on 64. Hopefully you can see that. Okay. So we landed on 64, okay? Here's what I'll say about that. Even though my humidor upstairs said 74 humidity, you also have to factor that the temperature has an effect on that as well. So given that the temperature is 78, which is pretty high, that's 74 from what I understand, and I'll have to dig into this deeper on a different video, but from what I understand, that can play a factor on what the actual RH is of something. Another thing I wanted to point out is that the more I looked into this device, it's not actually necessarily testing for relative humidity. What it's actually doing, I capped it too soon, is when you're putting these 2 probes in the cigar, it's passing electricity through that, and what it's actually picking up is the moisture content. And then the circuitry inside this thing is converting the moisture content reading into a relative humidity estimation, let's say. So maybe it has to be given a little leeway in that aspect too, because it's not necessarily reading relative humidity as much as it's reading moisture and converting it. But that doesn't mean that it's not accurate. But I will say today, compared to last time, much better performance. I would say that even though that says 74 and this says 64, that was 78 degrees. I'm now outside at 96 degrees. It's pretty hot out here, breezy. Also will say that came out of my 400 count refrigerated unit, which has the hygrometer right in the middle. And I pulled these from the top. And I have noticed that, because I've done this test before where I've got 3 hygrometers in there, and one's in the middle, one's at the top, one's at the bottom, and I'm getting a different reading on all 3. Okay, because obviously it's an environment, it's a big environment in there, and it's not going to be the same at every level because the weight of the humidity as it sits in that case. So I will say that there is the chance that as it was higher, the relative humidity on these cigars might have been a little lower than 74. Then getting out here in this 96 degree weather, 64 might be accurate. And another thing I'll tell you, just through decades of smoking cigars, I will tell you that when I take this cigar and I squeeze this, I can tell you right now, the way the sponginess of this, or even let's say lack of sponginess, there's no way this is at 74 degrees or 74% humidity. I can just tell you that right now for sure. These are awesome. But I can tell if you had a 70 or 74% humidity, this thing would be really spongy, and it's not. I can feel that it's a little firmer right at that cusp of, if it was too much lower, you almost might start cracking the wrapper. I like my cigars more at 65% for smoking them, but I know when it gets 62 to 60, you can actually, when you're pinching it, start seeing a little hairline cracks come in, and we're not there yet. But I can tell you there's no way this thing is at 74. So I will have to argue on the side of the humidity meter from CigarMedics. That 64% reading is probably pretty good. So I'll say that's how this performed today, and I'm impressed. Especially given that the unboxing and the time before, I was not impressed. It seemed pretty all over the place. This seemed a lot more stable. Again, by using this, I don't know that it's necessarily calibrating this thing or not. Hell, maybe it is. I didn't read anything about that, but by testing it on the 70, who knows? Maybe it's doing something to this. Maybe it seems a little better. I don't know if that has anything to do with it or not, but but today seems a little better. Like I said, though, I would get the combo where you get the little case, which is kind of nice to have. And then there's no case for this, but usually wouldn't carry this anyway. This is more just to, on occasion, test it to make sure nothing's changed about this, at least so you know it's functioning properly, that it's calibrated properly, and that whatever reading you get, at least you know this thing's not malfunctioning. Only other thing I would say is if you do have one of these things and you do notice like wonky readings where maybe your humidor says 70 and you're getting a reading of 52, only advice I could give you there would be, that's where you would have to start to learn how to use this and understand that, look, if I smoke a cigar out of my humidor when it says it's 70% humidity and it smokes exactly like I like it, and this thing tells me it's 52, you might just have to start to understand that this is not going to be a reading that you can really trust the RH on, but more just know, hey, if it reads around 52, it's probably going to be how I like it when it comes to the cigar smokability. So again, you may have to make that kind of concession for an item like this if it's not giving you 100% accurate RH readings. At least what you can do is become familiar with the number range that this measures that matches how you want your cigars to smoke. Hopefully that makes sense. But I will still argue today, I would say 64 is probably not that far off from what these cigars actually are sitting at. So again, much better than the unboxing and initial use I got on this thing. What changed, I'm not sure. I can tell you the only thing that changed is that I did touch it to this tester, and I don't know if that recalibrates this or not. I don't think that it does. I didn't read something like that. But I know it still at least told me it's 70, which means this thing's functioning like it's supposed to. So anyway, I know a lot of you had emailed me about when am I going to do an update like I promised, and so I wanted to get that done, and at least kind of happy to report my update on this thing is better than I expected. It seems to be a little more accurate than it was. Like I said, the only thing I would do different than what I did before is I would just buy the 3-piece set and save a little bit of money and have a case and have the tester. I think that's the way to go. I wouldn't just get the unit itself like I did. That was probably a bad move on my part. I also did go to CigarMedics website today and did notice they have a new model out. I think it's actually aluminum cased, and it's got apparently new, more accurate circuitry. It's kind of skinnier and longer. The only thing I did notice that is it says it's not compatible with this tester. So I thought that was interesting. So if you do get that one, just note, at least at the time of this recording, it said that the new model is not compatible with this tester. So just to understand that. Whether they're going to come out with a different tester for that model, I don't know. Or if they're going to eventually change something in that software to have it work with this or not, I'm not sure. But that's just what it said as of now. So anyway, hopefully this was helpful for you waiting for this update. Sorry it took as long as it did, but here we go. Here's where we're at. At this point, I think this thing's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool little cigar gadget. It's something I'll use. And again, today's performance was markedly better than it was when I unboxed it and tried it the first time. So I'm kind of happy about that, because to be honest, I wasn't expecting that. So anyway, Eric at SoCal Cigars, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you on the next video. Take it easy.